out of other social media, such as TikTok or Twitter. And the idea is that they want to make, similarly to how TikTok functions, these, short and concise videos that will be politically informative, designed for the youth, by the youth. And we have, a large team of youth advocates that we're producing these videos, and we just hope to educate the youth. So it'll be a little bit different.
Sounds like a good idea. So you're really going to be pretty much purely on politics. Are you going to take a left or a right view, or a liberal or a progressive view, or just whatever the person wants?
Completely nonpartisan. We just want people to be informed, no bias at all, healthy amount of Democrat, Republican, and some independent.
Yeah. So unbiased is not the same as a mixture, right? I mean, I don't believe there's anybody in the world who's really unbiased. It's impossible. We all have our biases. We all have our interests. But I think what you're saying is that you're not going to exclude anybody. You're going to let everybody in and basically give their views, right? Regardless of what those views might be. I would hope, at least if they're not, too far out there. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Proud Boys. I'm not sure if I want to see them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, right now we're focused on the candidates, and we definitely have some candidates that are, out here, they're speaking their truth, and I mean, we're here for it, So definitely we want to put people on the map, and we really want to inform the youth. That's the main thing we're focused on.
Well, it's interesting with me because, since it's a city council race, it's a very small area relatively, right? I mean, it's not like that's one of the things we've said is well, we can't just generally put things on the media, because how many of the people in my particular district are going to even see it? Somehow we've got to figure out a way to direct things to that media, to that, let's say, user in that particular area. And I think we're kind of looking into what Facebook does right now with their Facebook ads. I think they're kind of pricey, but it might be worth it to have that limited, very relevant kind of area that it covers. I don't know if you guys have the ability to do anything like that, but
the way that we're currently doing is we have 51 state news anchors. So that would be the person that just talks about all the candidates per region. We're going to have specific people per region. This interview, which will be later transformed into an article, all of the journalist articles and all of the journalist outlets that we're going to be sending this article to are going to be within the region of Mesa,
Okay, so you're actually going to interview me on something here, huh?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Hey, let's go. Let's hit it.
Okay, perfect. Not sure where the founder is. I hope he knows the right time for this interview. But would you like to just get started?
Sure. Oh, you were waiting for someone else?
Yes.
Oh, is that this Julius fellow?
Yes, that's Julius.
We're waiting on him? Okay.
Yes, that's his note taker. What?
I mean, I'll leave it up to you. I'm not in any great hurry right now for anything, but if you want to get started, we can. If not, we can kick back for a few minutes.
I would imagine the wine want to interrupt us while we're in the session. I would rather they just don't join by that point, So, okay, I'll just we can give it one more minute. If they don't join, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, sounds good.
Besides that, how's your campaign been going?
Oh, it could be better. It's very hard because there's a lot of big money in Mesa that, a lot of development. I think big businesses are taking advantage of the Mesa, sort of the quaintness and the lack of sophistication of the city council, because they're putting up all sorts of stuff. They're putting up data centers when we don't have any water. I mean, how's that happening? It's just so it's kind of tough, though, because all of those big money interests are supporting my opponents. And so there's 5 people running for my particular seat. They've had to disclose their financial donations so far, which was very interesting to me. I didn't have to because I had started so late. I hadn't raised any money yet. So It's like, and it's a little tiny race. The salary is 45,000 if you win. It's not nothing, but it's not like, you're not going to be getting rich off it.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, why are these other candidates being given so much money by these businesses? I can't help but be, what's the word, skeptical, or thinking, hey, I think they're given the money because they know that these people align with their interests. Even if we don't want to say they're outright bribing them, they're going to support the people that think like they do. And they think, it's perfectly fine. Let's just keep developing the land, just keep building stuff. Don't worry so much about the water. Don't worry about the little people that are out there working every day. Let's just worry about the big rich companies, the ones that can pay us these big campaign contributions. I know I'm being a little cynical, I know, but that's kind of the way I look at it. And I mean, I have no connection. I kind of was brought into this whole thing by a group called Indivisible Mesa. They pretty much wanted somebody with some, let's say, progressive values, somebody more interested in the people than the companies, to get on the city council to have some representation. And there was a seat open and nobody stepped up to run. So we were looking at basically four, mostly Republicans. I mean, some of them say they're independents, but they're just Republicans. They're just hiding behind the independent name, as far as I can tell. So we wanted somebody to run, and then I found, oh my goodness, look at that! I'm in District 5. I could run, and I'm going to be 70 years old in well, actually on the 13th. So what's that? 10 days, 9 days. So I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little old to be doing this, but I do have a pretty good background. I was a lawyer for 40 years, trying cases. So I got a little bit of a background. I graduated top of my class from University of Arizona. So I've got ties to Arizona, of course. Graduated top of my class from UCLA a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of felt like, well, I didn't really ever retire either. I was kind of forced to close my law practice because of some physical problems that came up. Pretty severe problems, so severe I couldn't really work. But I recovered actually a lot faster than anybody thought. I've been fully recovered for at least 5 years now, living over here in Mesa. And so I kind of thought, well, what else am I doing with my life? So I threw my hat in the ring. But we're trying to run a purely grassroots campaign. And it's really hard because, like I said, so much money against us. And a grassroots campaign, you really need large numbers of supporters and small donations to make up for the big, huge donations that the special interests are giving your opponents. And I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's because of my age. It's hard for young people or the voters out there to relate. Maybe it's our message isn't, resonating as well as I'd like. But the bottom line is we're getting very few volunteers. I mean, we appreciate anything we get, of course, but very, very few, and very, very little money compared to, like, my main opponent, I would say, is the incumbent. She raised $48,000 in the first year. Yeah, 48,000. All of it from developers, real estate developers, big businesses. She got $13,500 from the husband and wife owners of a company that leases out Caterpillar equipment. Well, of course, Caterpillar equipment is only used for paving and big, huge construction jobs. So I'm sure the guy's making a fortune and he wants to keep that gravy train going. You take somebody like me that's out there, I'm not really promising anybody they're going to make a lot of money off me. I'm saying, hey, I'll keep my eye on things. I'll try to make sure things are being done efficiently and nobody's taking advantage. But it's kind of hard for people to say, oh yeah, that's what I want. I'll chip in $50, and especially to get thousands of people to do that so that I could have a war chest that at least puts me in a little bit of competition with the rest of them. So, this all came up, Julius, because she asked me how my campaign was going. That's a very good question, by the way.
It is a good question. And I mean, you're right. I hear grassroots campaigns are not going to, by nature, it's harder to go farther than like the private interest ones are. And I get that. One thing that we can offer you though at Aebly Media, and why we're very appreciative for you taking the time to do this interview, is we can offer you a platform to hear your constituents though. And so I'm not sure how much Bar has been able to talk yet about the platform and like how we can help you help us. But we're very glad we could do this interview for you. We're going to put that on our media platform that we're launching. The two apps on the Android and iOS store are launching pretty soon. And in there is a place for not only people to view you as a candidate running for office, but two, a targeted forum page for people to talk about what they want to see in that district, what they don't want to see in that district, and an opportunity for you to tell those you're running for, to be like, hey, listen, I want to hear your voice. I'm here to listen to you. Like your ideas are our ideas, and I'm going to make sure they're implemented too. And I think this is a way for you to stand out if you're able to take the opportunity to take a look at a platform.
Well, the trick is, of course, given that I've got a pretty finite district, doesn't really make sense for anybody outside my district to watch the video. It does nothing for me, really. I mean, it's not inconceivable that they could look at it and say, I'd like to see more Democrats in general, so I'll give this guy $10. But I think it's pretty unlikely. So I actually was mentioning this before. So I think anything that we do, we've really got to try to focus on our district.
Right. And the forum is for your district only. So it's not going to be.
How do you manage that?
You do your zip code and then you choose which district you're a part of.
But how are people going to find you from my district? What's going to lead them to watch that interview?
That's how you're going to help us help you. And so what it looks like is that we are reaching out to a bunch of candidates. And the more candidates that are down, the more they're going to get their voice out there, the more that we're going to get out there, the more opportunity you have to actually listen to your constituents.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing I have been doing some podcasts with a friend of mine who's also a candidate. He's a candidate for the House legislature. And, it kind of sounds similar to that kind of thing. I mean, we do the podcast and then we disseminate that podcast however we can, email links, texting, whatever, posting it on Instagram, things of that nature.
Well, exactly. So if you're interested in getting this interview out there for your constituents to hear it, then we'd appreciate the support of you putting out Aebly Media on that email chain, social media, whatever it is, to let people know, hey, I just conducted an interview. I'd love you to listen to it. Listen to it on aeblymedia.com, the website, the app to launch, and then you can hear us there. I think what you're also showing too is that you're flexible and you're willing to do new startup. You're willing to invest time into new startups, whether it be through interviews or your own time spent sending an email, putting on social media, whatever it is too. And you want to listen to those that could be electing you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of our website is basically every page begs people to just use our contact form and let us know what's on their mind, because obviously we want to shape our message to address what people are really thinking.
There's something to be said about having a national platform like we're trying to launch right now, versus having your own independent website that people are going to have to look for. The idea is that, hey, listen, since we're aggregating and we're getting it out there nationally, those in your zip code are going to already be on there, hopefully, and they're going to see you as a candidate with their interview that we've conducted for you right there. Vice having someone to be like, hey, I'm going to know, A, who Danny is, and then B, look up his website.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think video is so important because, just static pictures, it's like, who's this gray-haired old dude, But if they can,
I don't know about that.
But if they can see a video, it gives you a little bit of personality, and maybe they see, hey, you got some good ideas or whatever, reasonable personality, maybe.
Video would be great. Clips, we put that on our socials too. I mean, I also need you to understand it's an honor for us to conduct this interview too. And so we, likewise, like we would like for you, we're going to put clips of this interview, if you'd like, on our socials and be able to put that out there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any downside, frankly. It's like that old saying, right? There's like publicity is publicity, even if it doesn't get to the relevant people. It's not like it hurt me or anything,
Nope.
unless I really do a goof here and end up on some reels somewhere for people.
I don't think you will.
That would hurt.
That would hurt, but I don't think you will. And I also don't think
we're
not in the game. We're not in the game to publish that anyway.
Yeah,
But we are looking to help you if you can help us too. And so either way, all we want to do is let the people know on a platform across America, focus on the district of who is running for what and what they intend to do for the constituents, and make it a centralized platform. Vice independent websites, which are great, but harder to stand up, and to have it a localized area where they can see every single candidate, how they compare, to their own politics and who they want to vote for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I love what you're saying because, there's supposed to be a forum coming up where there's 5 people running for my particular office. And looks like they're going to have all 5 of us in the forum, and they're just going to ask us a question, and each one of us gets a minute or 2 minutes to answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's great because and that's kind of what your venue or your website is going to do too. It sounds like they can say, who are my candidates? And boom, there's 5 videos, one of me, one of the other candidates, and they can compare us all.
Yep.
I mean,
the only difference is that you get more time to broadcast on your socials, the interview that we conducted too. You have more time, frankly. If we're doing this right now, you have X many days until the actual election happens. I know federally for the representative ones we're doing right now, it's 150 something days. I mean,
we really care about the primary. That's the funny thing in my particular race. It's really all about the primary because I'm the only Democrat. The other 4 are all Republicans. One of them, if I can't get at least the second number of votes, I'm out. It'll just be among them. It'll just be among the 2 top Republicans at that point. It's kind of, and frankly, even if I do get into the runoff, this district is, at least 2-to-1 Republican. So, candidly, I don't really have a chance at that point. Our only hope is in the primary, which is July 21, and the mail-in voting that starts in June 24th. People have about a month there to be able to, fill out their mail-in ballots.
Yeah. And you got a month and a half until the primary is up.
About a month and a half. So we're kind of, I wouldn't say panicking, but we're kind of nervous that we have not gotten the traction that we were hoping by now.
Yeah.
It's very hard when you don't have a lot of money to be able to disseminate this stuff.
Bar, go ahead.
So I was going to say, Dan, do you have a person managing your outreach? I heard that you have a difficult time.
We have, this is a lady. She's actually, I would have to say, the closest thing to recruiting me as there is. She was I don't know what her actual title is, but she's the top person at a local indivisible group. You guys are familiar with indivisible, I assume. No, maybe. They kind of break themselves up. So indivisible is national, but then they have chapters. So there's indivisible Mesa, indivisible Chandler, indivisible East Mesa. Anyway, she's the indivisible Mesa person. She's the one that recruited me to try and have somebody run against the, we call it the status quo, the current kind of people in there. And so she's been handling, all that kind of stuff for me. I'm an old-fashioned dude. I don't know that much about, putting out media and things like that.
It's a new world. It's a brave new world. And I hope that she's going to help you adapt to it.
Yeah, it is a brave new world. That's a good.
Danny, if you wanted to, after this interview, I think I could help you. If you want to send me her address or something, I probably have a couple of. I could probably try to help. I've done this along.
It's really tough because right now it's me and her name's Jillian. It's me and Jillian, and she's working her butt off. I mean, it's really, she's very adamant that she wants to make sure there's this one guy that's running that seems to have a lot of money backing him up from I don't think it's actually Turning Point, but groups like that. And she is just panicking that he's going to win, and then we're going to have one more super MAGA person on the council. So, you know, she's not doing it for me. I never even knew her before she recruited me. But, you know, we're not friends or anything. She just really feels adamantly that she doesn't want that to happen. And she agrees with my views. So it's like, we'd like to see somebody with my views get on there, you know. But it's very hard. Like I said, you know, you just take a little thing like putting up corner signs. We couldn't afford to hire anybody to do that. They're not cheap. You know, these guys want like, you know, $1,500 to put up, you know, say 50 corner signs. And the signs cost, you know, say around $10 a piece. So you're talking about $500 for the signs, another $1,500 to install them. And it's like, we don't have $2,000, you know, we've raised about $500 so far.
Right.
So, again, things just have not been, resonating the way we would all like. But, so, you know, at this point, we're kind of willing to try anything, especially if it doesn't cost us money that we don't have.
Well, this is a free opportunity. With that, I kind of want to kick it off to Bar.
Yeah,
Bar, you got a list of questions, correct?
Yes.
All right, excellent. I'm actually at a dinner meeting right now for Aebly Media, and hopes to get this out there more to allow your name to get out there more too. So I just want to introduce myself, hop on the call real quick. Bar is excellent. I mean, the fact that she's willing to help you just with your own campaign, like she is the reason that we're
excellent
succeeding.
question. How's the campaign going? What more?
Exactly. But I'm gonna let her run through. How many questions do you have, Bar? I think like 12, less than that.
I have a couple of questions. We can go with the flow and see.
Go with the flow. Go with the flow and see the speed. I'm gonna get back to it, but I want to introduce myself and say thank you for taking the time to do this, Danny. Like, we appreciate that. Yeah. Nice to meet you, and I'd like to put this on our platform and help you the best we can too. And that'll also look like you helping us too.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get. But nice meeting you too, Julius.
We're here to give it to you. Help us back.
Good luck
too,
with your platform.
Great to meet you. Yeah, thank you, Danny.
I think it's a great idea. Great idea.
Thank you very much. Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Take care.
All right. You too. All right. Now it's just you and me again.
Okay. Okay. So, can you hear me right?
I can hear you very well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So
look good.
go ahead. Okay, so I started recording now, so we can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So the first question, what made you decide to run for office in Mesa?
Yeah, you know, that's everybody wants to know that. Frankly, I kind of wonder sometimes, like, why do they care? I'm running. Isn't that enough? Anyway, but I would say that it's a little bit of a convoluted story. I don't want to take up too much time, but when you know, I've been disturbed like a lot of people about what's going on in our country, and I don't need to mention the names of the people that are causing these. Everybody knows what it is, but I was especially appalled when I started seeing the videos of Renee Good's murder. I don't say that lightly. To me, being a lawyer for 40 years, I think I know murder when I see it. And that was, just straight down murder. That guy just murdered her. And I thought, this is just ridiculous how we can do this. And then when the government came out and started immediately saying, oh, she tried to run him down and so on and so forth, it was shocking to me. I mean, that's not the America that I know. So anyway, it was bad enough, but I started, looking more into protests and way to oppose it and protest here in Mesa. And then what do you know? Before you know it, boom. Now Alex Preddy is murdered. And again, just downright murder. The poor guy, what did he do? One of the agents threw a woman viciously to the ground. We don't do that. My grow up, we don't throw women to the ground. It just doesn't happen. So Alex Preddy, being the good Samaritan he is, he steps between them. Like I would do, like any self-respecting, I don't want to sound sexist, but any self-respecting man would do. It's in our DNA, protect women. And for that, he was disarmed, which, of course, he was carrying a legal gun in a holster, but he was disarmed and then shot 11 times. What kind of country is this? So anyway, I don't want to, like I said, this is kind of a long story, but I just have to say I was so appalled and disgusted. I felt like I have to do something. And it kind of occurred to me there was an issue here in Mesa about, Mesa is one of the only cities, in fact, I think it might be the only city in Arizona that has a cooperation agreement with ICE. And so when I heard that, I said, I'm going to go down to the city council and I'm going to put in my name. They give you, time to speak, and I'm going to speak about this. But when I get down there, they have restrictions. Only 3 people can speak, only the first 3 people who sign up, and you can only speak for 3 minutes. So I wasn't able to speak. By the time I got there, they had already picked 3 speakers. But I did meet people there who were protesting ICE. And the more I looked into it, the more I thought, that's at least something we can do in Mesa about this issue. We don't have to cooperate with these thugs, and we don't have to subject our own people to being murdered or being harassed or persecuted, which is what I think is happening. And in any event, while I was there talking with the protesters, that's where I met Jillian, who started talking to me about how dire the need was for somebody in District 5 to run against these ICE supporting kind of MAGA right-wing kind of people on the city council, especially, I guess, in my district. At least she considered the person to be MAGA. And I thought, geez, yeah, you're right. We need to get somebody to step up and do this. And I didn't know I was in District 5 at the time, but I promised I would check. And sure enough, I was in District 5 and couldn't really think of any reason I couldn't do it. So I went ahead and filled out the paperwork, had to gather a bunch of signatures, got some volunteers helping us with that because we had a very short time period. I was the last one to enter the race. But if I didn't run, it would have been 4 Republicans running. So I kind of looked at it as I was like the only hope for people who were against ICE. So that's how I got involved. I mean, there's a lot of other issues that I was concerned about. I don't think I would have gotten in this purely on that one issue. I'm also concerned about the water consumption. I'm also concerned that our city council seems to they never saw a development that they didn't love. They approve everything. There's no thinking about it. There's no, how does this impact the people? What effect does it have on common people? I'm a common person. I was a lawyer for 40 years, but now, because I depleted my retirement savings because of illnesses that I underwent, I now live on Social Security. I'm a poor person, at least financially. So I relate to those people, and I really feel like they're not being represented. And I think all we ever hear about from our city council is growth, growth, growth. Let's grow more, and it's not controlled growth, and it's not smart growth, and it's just growth for growth's sake. Anyway, long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
No, that was truly insightful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really enjoyed hearing that answer. It's so different than what you usually get. I thought that was incredible. I mean, obviously you're for the people, by the people. I mean,
I use that term, right? Of the people, by the people, for the people, because that's what we're supposed to be.
Right.
I graduated, by the way, in college with a political science degree, so that's why these things actually make sense to me. Why we have these things and why it's important to have democracy, which unfortunately is under attack. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You have such a strong understanding of what is going on. You really know the city, and I mean, I think it's just definitely inspirational. So as we talk more widely, I mean, you've come out against ICE multiple times and have talked about it in depth. So then that would lead to my next question. What do you believe is the biggest issue facing Mesa right now? And how would you approach this issue if you were elected?
You got some good questions there. It's always tough when someone says, what's the biggest issue, especially when there's many issues. I mean, we all know that as a practical matter, the lack of water in Mesa is catastrophic. There's only just so much water, and the city council doesn't seem to be worrying about it at all. They don't seem to be concerned about water. They keep approving data centers, which I don't know how much this affects people outside of Arizona, although I do think it's kind of a national thing. But these data centers, they use huge amounts of water. Some of them use up to 5 million gallons a day of water, if you can imagine. In Arizona, where they tell us, don't water your lawn because we want to save water, but they'll let a data center use 5 million gallons a day. And I've heard like some of them are getting real tricky. They try to say, oh, well, we just have a closed cooling system, kind of like the radiator in your car. So we just fill it up with water and that's it. We're done. We don't use water every day. But they're lying. I've consulted with experts on this issue, for example, and they tell me, well, these so-called closed loop, that's what they call closed loop cooling systems. These closed loop systems are not really closed loops. They use water, but in the process, they contaminate that water so severely that it needs to constantly be refreshed by fresh water out of the water system. So they don't get rid of it. And also, they also use a huge amount of power in order to cool it that way. It's basically like they use fans. They circulate water and they use fans. Well, circulating water is energy, right? Running fans takes energy. That increased energy now is done off-site, so it increases the need for more energy, but that energy uses water because we have to cool the power plants. So in a way, you're saying, well, my data center isn't using water, but you're not telling them, oh, but my data center's still increasing the water usage in the area because the power plant's going to have to use more water. And nobody talks about how that drives up the costs for citizens. Citizens end up holding. We had an increase in utilities recently, and the city council agreed to increase the utilities 3.5% for the city. By the way, Mesa has its own utilities. They control the utilities. Kind of unusual for a city, but they do. We don't have a real estate property tax. They kind of make their money from the utilities. But they agreed, they decided to increase it on residences 3.5%. But on the businesses, they said, no, we're only going to increase it 1.5%. Okay, why do they get the break? They're the ones that probably use the water less wisely than homeowners. And then they say, oh, well, 3.5%, it's come on, it's minor, it's not a big deal. Well, if it's not a big deal, why didn't they charge that to the businesses too? So, you can't have it both ways. So I would say, water is, look, ice is a problem, but it's not, I don't think we can actually, it's a problem in the sense that it's much more severe, the consequences, especially if they start killing people or violating people's rights. But overall, in general, the effect on the entire city, I think it's just essentially water. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's crime, it's this, it's that. No, I don't think so. I think those things are, every city has a certain amount of problems with those things. And I can't put them in the top category. We all want to reduce crime, of course, but we're always going to have it too. You've got to be realistic. We do the best we can. But I think the water issues are something that's crucial. Okay. I tend to give long answers, so we may go over.
I love it. It's detailed, it's insightful. It's exactly the kind of answer that we should be expecting out of every single politician. Yeah. So I absolutely adore it. Yeah. Thank you so much, by the way. And I mean, it's I specifically like it when people bring up such specific issues, because it really shows that they understand the magnitude of these things. I mean, they've lived it, they understand people that have been in the community, residents. These are the type of people that are best equipped to know what the city needs at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, that was absolutely fabulous. So let me kind of now we've talked a little bit about your policies and what you believe in, and it was wonderful. Now I'd like to kind of go forward with talking about this new generation. because Gen Z, a lot of us are turning 18, a lot of us are now beginning to vote, and we would just absolutely love to hear from you. What piece of advice would you give to this new generation of political leaders, voters? What would you want to say to them?
That's a good question. Boy, you ask good questions. Okay, so what's interesting? I think of myself, like when I vote, you can't expect me, or by me, I mean any person, to know all the issues, to study all the ins and outs of everything. This is kind of why we have political parties. And I think you've got to look at the parties, what they're saying, try to really understand, what do they stand for? Who are they benefiting? Are they, and no one's going to be perfect. You may find a party and you say, oh, I agree with, 80%, but that other 20%, I don't like. Well, if on the other party you only agree with 70%, well, the 80% wins, right? So I think it would be fun to say to all the young people, oh, you got to study every issue and know everything in and out. But I don't think that's realistic. I think more likely it's first study the parties, think about what the parties are offering and what they're saying, and then choose a party. It makes it a lot easier to vote, because now you go in to vote and all you have to do is look for that D. Oh, Democrat. I'm assuming if you wanted to be a Democrat, right? You can run through the list. So, I think, you've got to keep an open mind and so on. But I think there's a lot of, I guess the other thing, this is as good a time as any to say, I think there's a lot of forces out there that want to misrepresent things in order to divide us and conquer us. And I think that those tend to be people who benefit from certain policies, of course, right? They're biased. So, but if your policy is, I'm going to give huge tax cuts to rich people, I'm going to help businesses all over the place, and I'm going to not give any more help to the poor people or to the regular people or to the middle class, that's a hard one to sell. So you can't sell that. But what you can sell is, oh, those people, they want men to be able to go into the ladies' rooms, right? They want drugs to be all over the place, right? They want open borders. Let's let in all the immigrants. And this is, or they want us to be able to abort living babies in the last day before they're born and kill them. They want us to kill babies. These aren't realistic. These aren't real issues. These are concocted, fabricated talking points that are used to get people riled up and vote for the party that claims they'll fix that imaginary problem. And, especially with social media, so many of these things can get so much traction, because you have to remember the people putting those out have unlimited funds. If you look at a group like the Heritage Foundation, which put out Project 2025, they have unlimited money. There's no limit. They can spend anything they want. So it's not like the things you're seeing on your social media are coming from other real people like you who have thought it through. They're people with an agenda. And so I guess I would say those two things. I think you should find a party maybe that you like and you want to support. And then also anything you do see, even from that party, I would add, you got to take everything with a grain of salt and understand that there's people out there trying to manipulate you and trying to work you up to vote their way. And it's not because they really care about transgender women using a ladies' room. Come on, give me a break. What are there, like 20 in the state? You know what I mean? They make a mountain out of a molehill. But I run against people all the time and talk, and they feel very strong about it. And you know what I say, Bar? A lot of times with the women, I'll say, when was the last time a trans woman came into your bathroom when you were using the restroom in the public? And I got to tell you honestly, nobody, not one person can remember a time of that happening. It just doesn't happen. And the reason is transgender woman probably, probably looks a lot like a woman, right? And probably the women that are in there aren't going to even realize it. And, they have this image that somehow the person goes in, strips naked and starts, dancing around or something. Of course they don't. They use the facilities. They go into the stall. They are private. But yet there's people out there that will insist, oh no, we need laws. We need laws to force that trans woman to use the men's room. Now, what do you think happens when that trans woman walks into a men's room? Hey, I like men as much as anybody, but we know some of them, they're not going to behave nicely. So what's more important, Anyway, again, a long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
Do not apologize. And I'd actually like to add that I didn't not just interact. One of my very, very dear friends is a transgender woman. And when I first met her, beginning of the year, and it was just like us, all the girls and her, and she would just be in the bathroom, and it didn't strike me until 6 months later. I'm like, she was in the bathroom with us.
Yeah, it's really foolish. Yeah, by the way, I've been endorsed by a group called Equality Arizona, which are big proponents of LGBTQ rights, and I'm very proud of that, and I've always felt that way even since I was a boy. So yeah, I think we've got enough real problems. We don't have to concoct problems and make mountains out of molehills.
Yeah, no, that was an excellent lesson on propaganda and agenda. I think that I do wish lessons like that were more pushed out there. That is something that I would love to broadcast, actually.
The great thing of this interview is it's like when I say these things to my family, it's like, oh, it's my crazy uncle. When I say I'm here, it's like, oh, you like it. That's nice, Maybe I'm not crazy after all.
You're not crazy, but, it's actually funny. It kind of leads to my next question as we wrap up this interview, which is going to be about young people again and how people call you crazy. People call me crazy too. I'm a political science major. No one wants to hear it anymore. But why do you think that there does seem to be this large disconnect between young people and politics? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I have a 19-year-old grandnephew. That means he's the son of my nephew. And I've tried to get him involved in politics, and I thought it would be very good for him to help me with my campaign. He's 19 years old, young man, intelligent, and try as I might, he is just disgusted with politics. He wants nothing to do with politics. He thinks it's terrible. He just thinks, he doesn't understand why I'm running, for one thing. But and I think it's kind of a lack of our school, lack of our education, I'm afraid. And I don't mean that they're not being taught well. I mean, they're not being taught the certain values and things that you need to have a legitimate society. And some of those are like, why do we have politics? Yes, it is ugly, right? There's an old saying that politics and hot dogs are similar in that the process is disgusting, but the outcome is usually pretty good, right? And that's how it is with politics. And so why are we so far apart? I don't. That's a good one. And I'm not sure we're that far apart to begin with, but I do think maybe it's a matter of respect. Maybe we need to give both sides, I suppose, respect their elders, but also the elders to listen to the young people. Try to be a little more open to their ideas. I remember when I was a young man, it was during the Vietnam War. I know I'm dating myself, but I was 17 years old and I was terrified I was going to get drafted as soon as I got out of high school and get sent to Vietnam to kill Asian people for some reason. nobody seemed to listen to me either. So I can kind of recognize, I didn't agree with the adults in the room or the other people. Of course, it was easy for them to make the decision. Kind of like today, right? I mean, young people, they want a future. They want to have a nice home. They want to, it's really easy for the people that already have that to say, oh, you just need to work hard or whatever, right? Not so easy when you're one of those people that's affected. And so I feel like I'm veering off the key question, I guess, which was, why are we so far apart? I think I relate pretty good with young people, so it's hard for me to
You do.
think, yeah, to think that we do relate. I have a bunch of grand nephews, and some are 12, one's 13. And they asked me one time. They said, "Uncle Danny, how can you look so old, but you act and like to do things just like us?" Just like us at our age, I said, well, you know what? I think in some ways you never really grow up inside. You can't stop growing up outside, but you kind of can keep that youthful idea on the inside. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think that the main concern, of course, is that we want young people to get involved. We want them to get into the political process. It's critical, and they can have a huge impact if they organize. And they don't have to just fall for any group that comes along. They can form their own groups. They can make their own decisions, but they can have a huge impact on the direction of the country. And I think they are getting shafted, I guess I meant to say. They're getting shafted by the system. One big thing, of course, is wages, right? I mean, it's terrible. People are like, oh, well, let's increase the minimum wage 25 cents. Oh, 25 cents? Come on. No, raise it to a living wage. Well, we can't pay people at McDonald's, $20 an hour. You know what I'm saying? Pay them $30 an hour. Think of what that would do to our entire economy. Oh, but then McDonald's wouldn't be able to make so much profit. McDonald's makes billions and billions. Okay, so instead of making a 40% profit, they'll have to pay people a living wage and they'll make a 20% profit. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to cry over that.
Absolutely.
So many issues like that. But, and if the young people all stood up and said, hey, we want that living wage, it could happen. But they've got to get involved in the system. You can't just, tuck your head in the ground and think things are going to change. I came upon a group of young black men when I was out, what we call canvassing, right, trying to get support. And they kind of had the same attitude as my nephew. They were like, "No, we don't vote. No, we're never going to vote. We hate all that." And it really shocked me because, I remember the civil rights movement. If black people at that time didn't kind of combine together and present a united position and a united force, who knows where we'd be now. Not that we're in a great place right now, but we'd be even worse. So I can't help but look at them and think, wow, I mean, do they know what their I don't know, what their forefathers or their ancestors did for their benefit, and now they don't want to even take advantage of the right to vote that has been so hard won for them. It's to me, it's very sad. And I would hope, I'll tell you, if I get in this office, that's one thing I would really make an effort to do, would be to bring young people in and try to get them into the system and not to be put off by what appears to be antagonism. Like I said before, I was a lawyer for 40 years. You are antagonistic when you're a lawyer. We're always fighting each other. We're suing each other. But you know what? It's the game. Once that court is closed for the day, we go out and, hey, you want to go have a drink? Yeah, sure. It's nothing personal. And I think that's the thing that maybe could get young people more interested in saying, you know what, I will get involved in this, and I can argue and I can fight, and I don't have to feel that I'm, like hurting somebody or being mean or being beat up myself. I'm just participating in the political process, which is debate. And I hope for the best. I hope, that I think they will, that's the other thing. I think every generation sort of goes through this, and it is, especially in the recent times, it seems so hard to, to see that you really do have an influence. And I'll tell you the reason for that is because we don't have influence. There's been studies done, I think one was out of the University of Pennsylvania, where they actually did a huge analysis, and they came to the conclusion that what the public wants is of negligible effect on public policy. That what really matters is what the special interests want. That if you're like, let's say, the gun lobby, right? They don't want laws against guns. You know what? There's no laws that pass against guns because they put out all the money. They control it. And we know that, I think this is something like 80% of the public want reasonable gun restrictions. But it doesn't happen. It never happens. It's not even close to happening. Think about that. 80% of the public wants something and we can't get it. All right. So that's not necessarily a young people thing. It's really a total thing of how our political system is really taken over by big interests, money interests, special interests. And that's going to be very hard to beat that. But even that could be ended. There could be with enough force, enough support, there could be a system put in place that would get all of that money out of politics. Let the government be responsible for funding campaigns. Once somebody gets to a point where they're a legitimate candidate, they all get an equal amount of money and they can fight it out. And then it won't be a matter anymore of who's got the most money winning. It'll be a matter of who's got the best ideas winning, we would hope. And that's what true democracy is. It's that the best ideas will win and the best people will get elected, not the ones with the most money, which unfortunately is kind of the case so many times now, including in my little district in Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, that was absolutely. I mean, every cent you gave here. I mean, it's absolutely refreshing to hear you speak. And it's hard for me to even select which part of everything you just said I would want to focus on, because I really do deeply understand and respect everything you just said. I mean, it's clear you're passionate about this. And
I'm glad to hear that. That's very nice to hear.
Absolutely. And for every part of it, I would really consider voices like yours to be representing the voice of the youth. And although much of the youth much don't understand it, I think the interesting thing about Gen Z is that, and it's so vastly different from other generations, is that we don't even question authority anymore. We have gone as far as to question the entire system.
That's a very good point. Yeah. It's kind of like brainwashing,
Yes. And I have fell down that rabbit hole again, but when I pick myself back up, I realized that the system that has been constructed over centuries and centuries, I believe there's value in it. I think there's a reason why it is the way it is. You could say it's slow, the way that things are being passed. But I think that it starts from local authorities, making sure that we have right people with the right voices, such as yours, out there and speaking for us and making executive decisions for us. And then we put that on the federal level. And that is how, we end up on top. And that is how we make for a better America.
Yeah, I like to say is, it's not a small office, it's a start. And local really is, it's kind of like the last line. It's where things really happen. Our city council was considering a proposal to require people to use the public facilities according to their sex at birth. So, we can argue about that at the federal level and say, oh, we should pass a law, blah, 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 right? But this is real. This is happening now in a small community that affects 500,000 people. Mesa has about 550,000 people. And, if we assume that 0.5% of those are trans people that are going to be affected by this, that's a significant number of people, of our neighbors who being put in danger because of a law. And this is something that we could stop, very easily. Get the right people in there. They're just like, no, we're not going to be, what's the word, prejudiced. We're not going to be, just assume something that isn't true. And, we're going to take into account compassion and the interests of everybody, even those that might not look like us or might not be the same as us. But, and if you start at the lower levels, right, then maybe it's enough to start showing some of the higher levels, hey, you know what, they did this in Mesa and it seems to be okay. Don't see any big problem with that. Maybe we should do that on a county level. Oh, maybe the county does it. Hey, it's working pretty good. Okay, maybe we should make it a state level. And like you said, who knows, then maybe we go to the federal level, right? and the whole world changes, or the whole country changes. But it's not going to happen overnight, I mean, I don't have any illusions. If I get elected, I'll try to be a voice. But I'm not a king. I'm not like our current leader. I'm not a king. I'm just a person that, will have one vote out of 7, and I'll do the best I can to illuminate issues that come up and make sure, it's not just one side of the political spectrum that gets to say, they say their piece, everybody shakes their head. Okay, let's vote for that. No, I'm going to be one that's going to say, hold on now, let me make my comments. And maybe I'll be the one no vote, but hey, it's better than nothing. And maybe it can lead to people thinking and, deciding maybe we don't need all these drastic cuts, for what reason, so that we can have more planes and more bullets and kill more people. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, you're an absolute inspiration. I had an amazing time interviewing today. Unfortunately, my time is coming to an end, but like I previously said, you're an absolute inspiration. Voices like yours are so immensely important. It's the exact reason why Aebly Media was created in the first place.
Yeah, Bar, it's really a shame that when you think about it, there's about 100,000 people in my district, and an old man like me is the only one that was willing to step up and oppose all these, status quo.
Right. And
that's kind of appalling to me too. Why do I have to do it? Why didn't somebody else? Not that I'm not a good candidate, but hey, I am getting up there in years. I think, I'd like to see somebody half my age do it, who can then maybe hang in there for 20 or 30 years and just keep that ball rolling, Wow. But, somebody's got to start the ball rolling. And that's basically what I'm trying to do.
I'm extremely appreciative of you, and so important. And, I mean, you might be the inspiration or catalyst for 30 other politicians to go and be, like you. So I think it's so immensely important. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I think it's like Bernie Sanders, right? I kind of look at his and I think, boy, this guy was so old and everything, but man, he had some good ideas, and he just kept pounding them over and over and over, and it started to really have an effect. And I would say Mandami, the guy in the mayor of New York, I think a lot of that is that kind of started that being possible. It has to start somewhere. And I remember when Bernie first came out, everybody was, oh, he's a communist, he's whatever. No, he's still there. He's still making noise. So I wish I could do 1/10 of what he does, 100th of what he does. That would be great.
He's Superman. I wish I had it too.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, unfortunately, the meeting is about to end in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it seems like we've been going a long time, but I tell you, I always apologize because I know once I get going, man, I can ramble on and on.
I love it.
I can talk I'm like Donald Trump. I can talk forever.
Well, I love it. I wish Donald Trump sounded a little bit more like you. So I would not mind that at all. Well, thank you, Dan. I really did have a great time.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. Very interesting. And
perfect. I think
this would be good.
And I really have worked on a lot of campaigns. So if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out.
Well, you know what? We do have a website, and I make it as easy as I possibly can to contact me. We've got phone number there. We've got, a form for email. I think I've even posted our actual email address if you don't want to use a form.
Sure.
So,
Let me.
and do you know what that address is? Did I tell you that? Or
I have your email. I'll look at your website and let me think, because I think I can probably get you some volunteers. So let me think.
you know what we need now are volunteers, of course, to door knock, and that's
Yeah.
very, frankly,